Welcome back to another insightful episode of Me and My Health Up. I'm your host, Anthony Hartcher. I'm a clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist. The purpose of this podcast is to enhance and enlighten your well-being. And today you've got me back in front of the microphone, and I'm talking about a topic that came up in a clinical consultation that I had with a client. Today's topic is around that, and it's unrealistic and high expectations breed self-sabotage. So this client had unrealistic high expectations and was going through a phase of self-sabotaging and was feeling really negative, always negative. And I'm going to explain what's happening there in terms of the neuroscience in your mind and how it expresses itself physiologically, how it actually manifests in the body. Okay, so let's get into today's topic. And I need to let you know why you listen to this podcast. It's to enhance and enlighten your well-being. And I've been doing that, and followers, and I guess you, the audience, come and tell me that. And I actually had someone come up today and express that gratitude. It was Natalie Fryer. Thank you for coming up and acknowledging the episode on alcohol and the hidden calories in alcohol. So that's a recently released episode, and it was insightful, and Natalie really resonated with that. So thank you, Natalie, for sharing your feedback and for being a fantastic and a strong advocate for the Me and My Health Up podcast. So today I'm going to help anyone out there that's struggling with self-sabotage, and it's that unrealistic expectations of self, and that can obviously manifest into the body and make you feel that you're negative and things aren't just, you're not attracting what you want to attract into your life. So let's get into the episode. So why might you be self-sabotaging? Well, it begins with unrealistic and high expectations of self or others. Okay, so let's start with unrealistic high expectations of self. So you're setting unrealistic goals, and these are goals that you could be thinking that you see someone that's successful, so you're comparing yourself to them and thinking, I want that. That's something I want. And they're successful because they're following what's most important to them. So they're honoring their true self and what's most important to them. They're being very authentic and they're very aligned to that goal. And so they have no trouble each day getting up and moving in the direction of that goal. And they've been doing it for a long period of time. When we're in this authentic mode of goal seeking and they're goals that truly are meaningful to you, you are willing to have delayed gratification. And if you look at anyone successful out there, it hasn't happened overnight. As you know, there's no overnight successes. Okay. The lottery is by chance. So those that win the lottery, it's by chance. Okay. And it's a very low probability that that will happen. However, if you align yourself to a meaningful goal and pursue that meaningful goal, that is really meaningful for you, and you're willing to put up with the pain and pleasure in pursuit of that goal. When you encounter a challenge, because that goal's so meaningful, you see it as a challenge as opposed to something in the way. You know that that is there to serve you, to make you better, so that you can continue on that course towards that meaningful goal. Okay, when we set a goal based on someone else's successes, that might not be meaningful to us. Hence why we self-sabotage ourselves. It's our intuition telling us that it's not a meaningful goal and you are out of character. You are not being your true self. You are not being your authentic self. And so it's not a meaningful goal. It's not resonating with your heart. Okay, you don't have that magnetic pull towards it. Okay, so pursue meaningful goals based on what's most important to you. And that's what I do around this podcast. What's most important to me is empowering and enlightening the well-being of others. And this podcast facilitates that. It's a medium at which I can facilitate that. And so I'm constantly in pursuit of new knowledge, new information, so that I can share it with you and empower you and help you along on your health journey. So in terms of comparison, the only comparison you want to make is not to other people, because they're being, those that achieve success are being the best versions of themselves, right? And they're working towards a meaningful goal. So find out what's meaningful for you. So what most resonates with you in terms of you have a natural gravity, not the gravity, but magnetic pull towards it. It's like a magnetic pull, like gravity weighs us down, but this is a magnetic pull towards, okay? So it's taking you towards something in the future to being a better self, right? So for me, it's how many people can I get a message out to that resonates with others, that takes their health journey forward and I make a little incremental difference, that's significant to me. Okay. I just want to make a minute incremental difference to those listening to this podcast. So if I can just come up with one gem in this episode, that is meaningful to me. That is me on purpose. And so when I had one of my listeners come up to today and say what resonated with them, it was really meaningful. And it actually spurred me on to, I need to get another episode out. Let's jump on it today. So I'm actually doing this after receiving that great feedback. I also received great feedback from the client that initiated this podcast on unrealistic and high expectations of self and self-sabotage. So that person also came up to me today and shared how wonderful that consultation was and how much of a difference it made and how a single sentence really enlightened their well-being. And I said to them, you are complete. There is nothing missing. That's what most resonated with them. But it was the lead up to that point. That was the crescendo, right? But it was the build up to that, in letting them find out that they are complete and discovering that they are complete, that there's nothing missing, by asking the right questions. And I was asking the questions so that they actually saw the other side of what was perceived to be missing that actually wasn't. So you can do this, obviously, and I'll share some tips. But let's get back to that meaningful goal. So establish meaningful goals. So these aren't fantasies, right? These aren't goals that other people have achieved. You might align to another goal that someone else has achieved, but you'll do it in your own way, in your own authentic way. So yes, you might have a similar goal if it's really meaningful to you, but you will do it in your way, okay? Because you are the best version of you. You're best to do it in your authentic self, in your most creative, expressive self. And that's what people will resonate with. So my podcast doesn't resonate with everyone. It's not resonating at a frequency with everyone, but those listening, it's resonating at the frequency for them and where they're at in their health journey. So my podcast doesn't have a whole lot of entertainment. It's very educational, and educational is only for a certain percentage of the population. Most of the population are seeking entertainment to escape from reality because they're not feeling unfulfilled, or maybe they could be topping up their fulfillment with a bit of entertainment. I don't know. So in terms of when you seek a goal that's not meaningful, your intuition will guide you back to being authentic self, and you'll start to find the negatives as to why you don't want that goal. And that's the negative self-talk that's serving you, because it's telling you it's not meaningful. No one needs to tell me to do this podcast. No one needs to remind me. They can certainly inspire me. I had a goal to do a podcast this week anyway. I was going to do it on Friday, but I'm recording it on Thursday. Okay. And it was just because I had that inspiration from receiving that feedback from fantastic listener, Natalie Fryer. So I hope you're listening to this podcast. Really appreciate your feedback. It's inspired me to get this episode done a day early. So I'm a day ahead of schedule. So actually, I'm internally motivated. So every week I do an episode for this podcast, because it's a way in which I fulfill my mission. I have a magnetic pull towards that outcome, which is enhancing and enlightening the well-being of others, no matter how small or big that is. It's just incremental improvement for that individual. So I do this. I research every day. I reading articles every day, research papers every day, audiobooks every day. Every moment I get, I am empowering myself. I was empowering myself before this episode, and it actually brought up a really great gem for me. I wanted to share that. Okay. So let me just close out this point. So do what's meaningful for you and set goals, realistic goals. Realistic goals have both sides assessed, right? So you know the benefits of achieving that goal, but you also know the potential downsides or the risks in association in the pursuit of that goal, because there'll be compromises on the way, but because that goal's so meaningful, that's not significant. But just be aware there will be some level of compromise, okay, in another area that's not so meaningful to you. But that will happen. And so you shouldn't feel down about if that area is not getting its attention that it used to get, because you're on mission. You're in pursuit of what's worthy to you, or most worthy to you. It's most valuable to you, because we have this hierarchy of importance to us. And so this is extremely important to me. So it always happens, right? But you can't rely on me cooking a good meal, right? So food for me just is what I need to do my mission, right? And it's fuel for my mission, but I don't get any other pleasure out of food other than that it fuels me to achieve my mission. Whereas some people get extreme pleasure. And I know, my family members, such as my wife, Adriana, she has extreme satisfaction because food's really meaningful to her. And seeing others love the food that she creates is really meaningful for her. Whereas for me, I just see it as fuel. But to her, it has a greater meaning. It gives her fulfillment and she can see it fulfilling others. My son really loves her cooking and she's always looking to inspire his palate with the creation she comes up with. And so food's really high to them. And so they're really organized in the kitchen and they have very methodical in terms of how they go about doing things. And they will know the correct ratios of certain, amount of salt to add to oil ratio to, or whatever, sour ratio to bitter ratio. They will have that down to a fine art. I'm more a bucket chemist. I know that a little bit of this is good for me, a little bit of this is good for me. As to how it tastes, it doesn't matter to me. Okay. I just know that it's going to provide nourishment to my body. So, but they're wired differently. They're looking for that taste as well that goes as a whole package. They're looking at the whole package of food. I'm probably more looking at the nourishment level, but in terms of taste, I'm not really fast. If it's whole and it's complete and it has all lots of good nutritional value, then for me, that's full satisfaction. However, they're looking at it for an entire new level and it's got to be more complete than that. It's also got to have the flavors and the textures. Okay. So I'm not worried about the flavors and textures, but that's them being them. Okay. And me being me. So I'm not organized in the kitchen. I'm quite messy in the kitchen and they're very organized and very disciplined around the kitchen. I'm not. Okay. But you can count on me being very organized and disciplined around this podcast. Every week an episode drops without fail. I've never missed an episode, a weekly episode over the last 3 years, and I have no intention. If anything, I'll probably increase the amount of episodes I do. So I'm more likely to go on the high side than on the low side. I don't even take a break from this because I love doing it. It totally resonates with my heart. And I have this magnetic pull towards it because it's taking me towards my mission. So discover what's most important to you and set goals in those areas. And the only comparison you want to make is how you're going towards fulfilling that goal in terms of those daily activities. So what's the daily activities that you need to do to take you in the direction of fulfilling that goal? So for me, it's recording an episode each week. It's coming up with a title for the episode each week. It's coming up with education and insight into that episode. So planning around it, doing research around it. For me, that's what I do. And I get, I'm planned and very organized around that and get very disciplined in terms of making sure that an episode is done. Okay. So again, that's how I measure my success and whether I'm, good at what I'm doing is, am I dropping a weekly episode? And is each weekly episode improving in value to my listeners? Am I actually engaging more listeners? Am I actually growing my listenership? And so I look at the metrics around that. I measure myself against that. Okay. So I want to provide fulfilling content to you. So let me know, give me the feedback if this is taking you towards your goals or what would help you in your pursuit of your goals. This is about enhancing and enlightening your well-being. That puts me on mission. Okay. So that's in terms of you will self-sabotage yourself when you set unrealistic goals because they're unrealistic and you'll have high expectations of something that's not meaningful to you when you're comparing yourself to someone else's success. Okay. You are successful when you are pursuing a meaningful goal. So Earl Nightingale said the definition of success is the progressive realization of a meaningful goal. Okay. A meaningful pursuit. So progressive realization is me dropping a podcast episode that's listener worthy, that's insightful each week, that enhances and enlightens the well-being of you each week. And that's what I pursue. And I always seek education around how can I make my episodes better. Hence, I've invested in equipment. I've got editors involved. I've actually got a whole team that helps me pull together this production. So I shout out to my team that helps pull together the Me and My Health Up podcast. So I've got fantastic editors in Kevin and Enzo. I've got fantastic graphic designers in Agatha and social media expertise in Agatha. And so I have this great team that really helps me. And I've also got Ken who does my copyright, my show notes. So shout out to all you guys because you guys help me in the pursuit of something meaningful for me, but it's also meaningful for you because you're doing work that's fulfilling to you. So Enzo and Kevin love editing videos. They love editing podcasts, and they do the best job possible. And they're always looking to finesse their craft because it's meaningful to them in producing great content. I mentioned Ken. Ken's also an SEO expert. And so what's meaningful for him is to see this show grow based on his research and analysis as to what people are looking for, searching for, right? And so all my podcast titles are SEO friendly. And so I'm investing in that, investing in people that are inspired in their area of expertise, that want to do the best in their area. And so as a team, as a collective, we achieve great things. So shout out to Yuga Rhythm, which is the team I've engaged in terms of putting this episode together. So I really appreciate the work that you do in putting this episode together. And I know you're all in pursuit of meaningful goals, and hence why you do such great work for me. So the other way in which we self-sabotage is when we expect others to live in our area of value or our area of importance. So, for example, if I expect others to be healthy, right? Because everyone has a unique hierarchy of values, and health might not be the highest on their hierarchy of values. It might be lower. So I know for my son, for example, health is lower. And so he does value his health in some way, but not to the degree I value my health. And so I shouldn't impose my highest value onto him because it's getting him and expecting him to behave outside of his authentic self. And so he's always going to pursue goals that are meaningful to him and act in his best interest around what's important to him. And he does that very well. As I mentioned, my son loves food and he cooks me dinner, right? And so in enabling him to be his best expressive self by doing something he loves, which is cooking dinner, and not expecting him to rate his health or look after his health as much as I do, is respecting him for who he is. Whereas I would be extremely disappointed if he did, so if I expected him to value health as much as I value my health, he's always going to feel like he's failing me. And he's going to feel that he's less of, he's not living up to my expectations. And so I think my son's letting me down. So I think he's, in a way, letting me down or betraying me or something like that. And he's thinking, well, I can't live up to my dad's expectations. My self-worth is low, right? I can't meet my dad's expectations. Whereas if I don't have those expectations of him living inside of, or living up to my values and him just being the best version of him, he can thrive because he's being him and he's going in pursuit of meaningful goals that inspire him, as opposed to me telling him he should be more healthy, he should go and do this, he should eat this. He's going to not like that, and he's then going to, that will send him in his animal center, and he's going to actually have more negative self-talk because he thinks he's low and not living up to expectations, and I can't win my father's love. And so he's then going to turn on his desire center, which is that animal center, and that animal center will then take him towards immediate gratification and away from his pursuit of a long-term meaningful goal. Okay, when we're in pursuit of our long-term meaningful goal, we are willing to put up with delayed gratification. So with this podcast, it's still relatively small compared to Joe Rogan, right? I'm drawn to it. It's got a magnetic pull towards it. And I'm willing to put up with the pain in pursuit of that long-term goal, knowing that Joe Rogan didn't become successful overnight, right? And I don't want to be Joe Rogan. I want to be the best version of Anthony Hartcher. So I'm going to do it my way. But I would love to create that sort of listenership and me inspiring that many lives in terms of health, right? So that's the side that I admire. I mean, he's been very persistent, but he's been in front of the microphone for decades, right? I've only just started my journey. I've been 3 years in front of the microphone and improving daily, but he's obviously had a whole career around being in front of a microphone. So I'm not going to compare where my listenership is compared to his, because that's not apples to apples, right? He's been working at this for decades, and I've been working at it for a few years now, and I'm pursuing it my way in my authentic path. And so back to Ollie, if he then seeks immediate gratification, it's taking him away from his meaningful goal, where he's willing to put up with pain in pursuit of that meaningful goal, and then just seek something immediately gratifying just to help lift yourself, make him feel better about himself. So it's that pleasure seeking, that desire center to seek pleasure when we're feeling unfulfilled. So he feels unfulfilled because he doesn't think he can meet my expectations. And of course he can't meet my expectations because he's not me. He's Ollie. So I don't want him to be another version of me. I just want him to be the best version of him. So this is a great parenting tip. This is not a parenting podcast, but you can feel let down by your children if you have unrealistic expectations of them. And the unrealistic expectations of them is living your values, living your hierarchy of values. That's unrealistic expectations of them because they're unique and special, and you should respect them for who they are and give them encouragement in the areas that inspire them, in the areas that are meaningful for them, even though they might be totally different to you, because they're going to be very fulfilled and they won't be pleasure seeking, such as, pleasure seeking takes us towards drug addiction, takes us towards sex addiction, takes us towards gambling, takes us towards all these immediate gratifying substances externally, right? We seek external immediate gratification. Okay. And so if I allow Ollie to be Ollie, he's going to just pursue his meaningful long-term goal in being the best cook he can possibly be and come up with the best creations. And I'm going to support him by allowing him to cook for me because he loves cooking. And I'm not going to judge his cooking based on the health value of it. I'm going to allow him to come up with the best creation and let him talk me through how he's come up with that creation. Let him share that insight that goes in, that love that goes into that creation, and connect with him at that level, as opposed to thinking, well, that hasn't got a good ratio of protein to carbohydrates to fats. You get what I mean? That's me judging him in health. And he doesn't have that as high as me. Yet he does value his health. It's just not as high as me. So I hope that really helps you in terms of not have unrealistic expectations of others, because you're always going to feel that they're letting you down. But in actual fact, they're just being the best version of them. They're not letting you down. It's a perception of you. It's an unrealistic expectation of yours to expect other people to live in your values or to live based on what's most important to you. So respect them and what's most important to them by allowing them to thrive and living the life that they want to live and be their authentic version of themselves. Otherwise, they're just going to be putting on masks and hoping to please you, but they're never going to actually please you because they won't live up to your expectations, because their brain's telling them that, no, don't do that. The brain's telling them negative self-talk, self-sabotaging themselves to say, no, don't live up to Anthony's expectations. That's not you. And then he's feeling a bit confused, as if I don't live up to Anthony's expectations, he's not going to love me. But love is unconditional. Love is loving the person for who they are. It's unconditional. It's loving them for the complete package. And when I said to my client that you are complete, nothing's missing, it is true. If you're comparing you to someone else's success in their area of value, such as like Taylor Swift in singing, right? I want all Taylor Swift's, I admire her success, but you will have success in the area that you value most. I've got massive success in my own health. I feel great. I feel like I'm back, I feel like I haven't aged. So for me, I feel as good as what I did in my 20s and my teenage years because I've really invested in my health, but it's a high value to me. So I wouldn't want other people to look up to me and think, I want to have Anthony's health, when they don't value health. If they're just being the best version of them, their health will look after itself in a way. It really will. So they will have governance over their emotions. They'll make better decisions around their health. When they're living outside of what's most important to them, they're trying to be someone else, that self-talk will take them down to, and then they'll keep focusing on this self-talk and get angry with themselves and annoyed with themselves. And then they will lose themselves in that moment and go to that animal center and think, I'm feeling very unfulfilled. I need some pleasure. I need some fulfillment. And they'll seek it externally, such as they'll go for the chocolate cake. Whereas if they're pursuing something meaningful, they've got no desire for the chocolate cake because they're in pursuit of something meaningful. Okay, so when I'm doing these episodes, time just goes by. I don't even realize, and hence why some of these episodes probably go a bit longer than what I'm hoping to. I actually set a goal for a half an hour episode, but because I get so in the moment, I lose track of time. Okay, so when you're pursuing something meaningful, you lose track of time. You actually lose where you are. Sometimes I have to pinch myself, and I'm doing a podcast recording. Okay, people are going to want to do other things. They might not want to listen to you all day, Anthony, as much as you like empowering them. They've only got so much time dedicated to empowering their health because they're in pursuit of something meaningful to them. Okay, so I need to honor your time, and I'm going to wrap up the episode there. So in conclusion of this episode, so that I can fit it within the half an hour window, is you'll only ever self-sabotage yourself when you're not being you. Okay, that's your intuition telling you to get real, to be you, to not try to be someone else. So whenever you start hearing that negative self-talk, it's getting you to being your authentic self. It's like, I'll give you another story. It's like people say to me, "Oh, can't you just let go and just have a drink and get drunk with us?" Or, so yes, I could say yes to them in order to live in their values, but then I won't be happy in that drinking exercise or being with them. And then they will think, well, you're miserable. I don't want to be with you. And then I'm thinking, I don't want to be here either. And so it doesn't help either party if they're expecting me to live in their values and then me trying to live in their values. We don't do it. Okay. They don't want me to be there. I don't want to be there. And I found that I never resonated with drinking because I didn't realize at the time, but it violated my highest values. And I felt my best when I don't succumb to other people's peer pressure in terms of telling me that just let go of it, for a night and just get drunk with this. I used to do it and I felt so unfulfilled, and I used to actually get angry. And they said, "Oh, you turn into the Hulk when you drink." And I've realized now, looking back, it's because I'm angry with myself for allowing me to do something that is not me. Okay, it's taking me to being my non-authentic self, putting a mask on and pretending to be someone else, pretending to be like them, and that made me angry with myself. And that anger then was expressed when I was drunk. I don't do that anymore. I'm comfortable saying no because I know what's truly meaningful to me. I'd much rather record a podcast episode and spend the time with you than go for a drink at a pub and get drunk because it's violating my highest values. Okay, so I just wanted to end with that story. So don't expect others to fulfill to be like you and put your expectations on them. That will only get them to self-sabotage themselves and betray you according to your perceptions. And then always with yourself, not comparing yourself to others because they're doing what's most fulfilling to them and they're in pursuit of a meaningful goal. And you're thinking that you want that, but you self-sabotage yourself to say that you don't really want that. That's not important to you. And so just while I wrap up here, I've just remembered the book I'm reading is a Joe Dispenza book. I actually can't remember the name of the book. The thing he shared with me was, okay, when we're in our animal center, so that's when we're living outside of our values, we're feeling unfulfilled, we go to the animal center, the desire center, that pleasure seeking center. What happens is we want immediate gratification and we want it now. And that's when we get impatient, is when we're drawn into our animal center. And that's when we want the here and now. And that's when you have to have that piece of chocolate cake because you're feeling unfulfilled. You're not being you. You're not getting back to your authentic self. You're trying to be someone else. Okay. So if you're the best version of you, you don't have that massive desire to needing it now. You're not impatient. I'm so patient when it comes to allowing my podcast to grow organically. I don't need it to be Joe Rogan overnight. I love this journey. Okay. I'm getting better myself every day at doing podcasts. I'm learning, educating myself on how to create a better podcast with my great team at Yuga Rhythm. Shout out to you again. And so again, just pursue what's meaningful for you. You're then in pursuit of delayed gratification. And because you have this magnetic resonance and pull towards it, time doesn't matter. It's like the episode, I set this half an hour deadline. I've already gone over, okay? Because I'm so in the now. I just love sharing and I really want to empower you. And so I'm going to wrap it up here. And so if you want more empowerment, I'm sharing exclusive information to the Me and My Health Up Club members, which is a monthly subscription, a very low cost monthly subscription, a couple of coffees a month to get exclusive insight that I'm sharing regularly that I don't share on this podcast. So join this community of like-minded people if health a really high value to you, and come on along a journey with all of us who are all in pursuit of a better, healthier version of self, okay, in your own way. and we just support each other as a community. And I provide insight in terms of what I'm doing and what's working and what else is out there in terms of what other people might want to try in order for them to achieve their health goal. So if you're wanting to up your health and take your health to the next level, join the Me and My Health Up Club. The link is in the show notes at the very bottom of the show notes. Go to the very bottom of the show notes and you'll go to the link of the Me and My Health Up Club and join the community of like-minded people and fulfill your bucket of health. Until next time, thank you for your ears and I really appreciate you listening. Have a great day. Podcast disclaimer. This podcast and any information, advice, opinions, or statements within it do not constitute medical, healthcare, or professional advice and are provided for general information purposes only. All care is taken in the preparation of the information in this podcast. Connected Wellness Proprietary Limited, operating under the brand Me and My Health Up, does not make any representations or give any warranties about its accuracy, reliability, completeness, or suitability for any particular purpose. This podcast and any information, advice, opinions, or statements within it are not to be used as a substitute for professional, medical, psychological, psychiatric, or any other mental health care or healthcare in general. Me and My Health Up recommends you seek the advice of a doctor or qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Inform your doctor of any changes that you may to your lifestyle and discuss these with your doctor. Do not disregard medical advice or delay visiting a medical professional because of something you hear in this podcast. This podcast has been carefully prepared on the basis of current information. Changes in circumstances after publication may affect the accuracy of this information. To the maximum extent permitted by the law, Me and My Health Up disclaims any such representations or warranties to the completeness, accuracy, merchantability, or fitness for purpose of this podcast and will not be liable for any expenses, losses, damages incurred, indirect or consequential damages or costs that may be incurred as a result of the information being inaccurate or incomplete in any way and for any reason. No part of this podcast can be reproduced, redistributed, published, copied, or duplicated in a form without prior permission of Me and My Health Up.